now that the president have given nod to establishment of state police, we can clearly see that there is apprehension in some quarters, particularly those who do not mean well for Nigeria. Because as we have it, very soon, the bandits, the terrorists will be hearing from federal government in a language they best understand. And what is that language? Language of force, language of might of the federal government. Of course, the language of disaliving bandits and sending them to their creator. Because as we have it, we are looking at some groups that oppose state police or that have consistently opposed state police in Nigeria. But before we do that, let us listen to Tinubu himself. Because from what I'm seeing, this is a decisive decision that is going to see Nigeria more secured. And apart from that, let us not forget that it's like this, the government have prepared for this even before now. Because very soon, the government will be taking delivery of 50 fighter jets to strengthen the, of course, efforts in their counter-terrorism and to go ahead to bombard bandits and send them out of every inch of Nigerian territorial integrity. But let us just hear from him, then we'll know the perspective and direction of this conversation. Listen to him first.
Aspect of the security, it might be necessary instead of all this civilian, this method this or JT, civilian that, and I have to create state police. We are looking at that holistically. We will defeat security. It will be effective. We must protect our children, our people, and our livelihood, and places of worship and places of recreation. We can't intimidate us. On one hand, the forest guard is being empowered, and we empower them effectively. We push that. We defeat the fear of politicization by political differences that has prevented establishment of the state community policing in the past. And there should be other ways to really counter all of that. I can assure you there's no thinking that we will be left out.
So having listened to him, I think it's imperative and everybody understand that this is the way to go. But let us even look at why some people will be rejecting state police currently and even in the past. Because recently, we saw the Militias Association in Plateau State rejecting state police proposal of Plateau State Governor, talking about Mufwang. And this happened recently when the Senate Committee on Constitutional Review visited Plateau State. So we begin to wonder, why should a group of people reject state police? And the argument is always hinged on perhaps the state governors abusing the state police. I must say the argument, or rather their own reason for rejecting state police, is a misplaced one, because Plateau State is one of the states that have been ravaged by this insecurity, particularly the killings that is occasioned by Fulani, what would I call the Fulani herdsmen or Fulani Militias? Because if you look at what happens in Benue State and in Plateau State, it is in two dimensions. You have an angle of people trying to keep people to take over their land, because that has been alleged by the governor of Plateau State, where he made it very clear that what happened in the last time where we saw serious misaliving of persons in Plateau State was just an attempt to exterminate a race and take over their land. We equally saw a similar accusation or rather allegation from Benue State recently. But the point is, why should any group be opposing state police. Because what we have here, we only have another group who have always opposed state police, talking about Fulani stroke pastoralist groups that rejected state police in the past and even currently. This one is a Kulen Alan Cattle Breeders, Kulen Allah Cattle Rearers Association of Nigeria. And their reason is not so far-fetched. They are worrisome that it may be abused. But the question is, if everybody have agreed, including the president, that state police is the way to go, why should someone be opposing state police? And again, you understand that even the current insecurity in the country, particularly the one that is occasioned by Fulani Militias, some persons have recently come out to claim that they brought the Fulani Militias into the country, perhaps to oust a Jonathan out of office in 2025. I think this one specifically came from Kau Baraje, who made it clear that Fulani Militias were brought into the country to remove Jonathan from office. Now, Jonathan is no longer in the saddle, and the Fulani Militias are everywhere wreaking havoc. And that is why even the Tinubu must be very careful, because it's possible that the North may still want to use insecurity to bring down his government. Because if you look at what happened under Jonathan, it was very clear that it was the insecurity that the then opposition used to oust him from office. Because to have it, then the argument was that Jonathan was not able to fight insecurity. Even when Jonathan went to brought in machineries to decimate Boko Haram, little did we even know that the machineries were doing excellent work, decimating Boko Haram, because this is a revelation that even came from a former House of Assembly member from Borno State. But ultimately, the northern stakeholders, leaders who equally enlisted these bandits, these Fulani Militias, to remove Jonathan, equally ended up removing him, and it didn't even interest them to even continue in the trajectory of fighting insurgency. Rather, what Muhammad Buhari did was to send the machineries packing. And currently, we are back to the problem. And the worrisome part of this problem is that it is no longer limited to the northern part of the country. It is in every inch of Nigerian territorial integrity. That is why I encourage government that even the cry of Shegumik, the cry of any northern leader, any Fulani leader, that they should jettison the idea of state police should be ignored. Because I understand that even before now, Shegumik was emphatic that the North, particularly his followers, should not vote for any candidate that will acquire weapons to fight bandits. But the way it is very clear that even the Tinubu government is already acquiring more weapons to fight bandits. Because we have even seen success recently, even when the same, of course, when the same Shegumi will start raising alarm about the presence of Mossad agents in Nigeria. But the question is, I think at some point, federal government need to ask Shegumi some question. Because this is a character who, of course, was deported from Saudi Arabia. So at some point, he should be able to answer some question with respect to what transpired between him and, the Saudi Arabian government. Because at some point, he was deported from Saudi Arabia. So he should be able to answer some questions. Because whether we like it or not, it behoves on government to protect lives and property. Whether the level of the president, the level of governors, even the local government chairmen, they have all taken an oath in their respective capacities to protect lives and property. More so, as the constitution is very clear on this, that the welfare of the people and their security shall be the primary purpose of governance. So to that extent, it is a responsibility that's incumbent in the offices of all the elected executive persons in this country. And this they must do without excuse. That is why we, as a person, I encourage the government to push ahead with this move so that Nigerians can heave a sigh of relief. Because for me, life is sacrosanct and life must be protected. There's no excuse for wastage of life, particularly where the life or where the issues can be prevented. Because even shortly after the president came up with this idea, we have seen the San Francisco governor saying that if he takes control of the security architecture in his state, that in 2 months he will end banditry. And he have come out to even explain that he already have some security gadgets, equipments installed in his state, through which he can even monitor the movement and the location of the bandits. According to him, his only predicament is the inability to control the security architecture in the state. He even gave an instance where they noticed the movement of bandits, they notified the security agencies, but because it does not follow that his purview to control them, and that was the predicament, they couldn't respond. So that is why I like this idea coming from the president himself. And of course, this will put bandits in their place, so that the likes of Toji Bello, the likes of Ada Aleru can know that it's no longer business as usual. And I want to say that it must not be business as usual. They must be taught the bitter lesson. Because Nigerians have died in their numbers, in their hands. We cannot forget in the horror recently where about 50 persons were adopted in Zamfara State. 1 million requested from each of them. About 18 persons were able to raise the money. It turned out that those who could not raise the money were disallowed. I must say this is unacceptable, because life you cannot create is not what you take recklessly. The way it is, every person that participated in banditry must pay for the crime. And the best way for them to pay for the crime is to bring them to justice. That is why negotiating with them is out of it. It doesn't matter the opinion of Toji Bello. It doesn't matter the opinion of Ada Aleru. It doesn't even matter the opinion of Shegumi himself, who have always advocated non-kinetic approach. Because if you are going for non-kinetic approach, the bandits are demanding for money. The question is, the money you are giving the bandits, are you not strengthening the activities? Because they will go around to buy more weapons to wreak havoc. That is why I think the former governor of Kaduna State is very correct, where he made it very clear that bandits do not repent. That his own ideology is to disallow them, send them to their creator, who have the ultimate power to judge them. Because we have seen in recent time where a support repented Boko Haram member who are integrated into the Nigerian army was caught by his colleagues, and he wrapped ammunition around his waist, which he intended to go and give to his colleagues in the bush. So it's going to show that all the supposed repentant Boko Haram bandits are only deceiving the armed forces and the Nigerian government. And perhaps their lieutenants their commanders in the forest, in the bushes, are seconding them, asking them to pretend to have repented, just to use them to gather actionable intelligence to sabotage the effort of security agencies. Because if you even look at the other burning down of military base, the precision with which they did that, you begin to wonder, could that have happened without an actionable intelligence on the part of the bandits or Boko Haram or terrorists, as the case may be? I don't think so. Because for the terrorists to bring down and completely burn down such formidable military base, they must have gotten some level of actionable intelligence. And they may have used most of all those supposed repented members of Boko Haram terrorist groups to gather such intelligence. That is why negotiation should be out of it. Negotiating with bandits should be out of it. Reintegrating them into the society should be out of it. The best the government could do is to go ahead, acquire monopoly of collective power, and give them the treatment of a terrorist, what a terrorist should receive. Because it's unthinkable to say that a country like America, a country like Britain, Russia, name it, France, will start negotiating with bandits. If you have your citizens in captivity and you are negotiating for their release, it's understandable. You can even pay ransom to get them out if going for rescue operation will endanger their lives. But not a situation where nobody is in captivity. So if you are negotiating, the question is, how long will the negotiation endure? How long do you sustain it? Because anytime they feel dissatisfied, they will make demand. And anytime you are not meeting their demand, they will take to kidnapping, maiming, raping, and all of that. We have seen videos that have made around severally where you can clearly see bandits displaying naira notes, which they actually collected from victims. So it goes to show that they enjoy what they are doing. These people are monsters. These people are demons. These people are bloodsuckers. These people should not have a space in a civilized society. The best bet is for the federal government to go ahead to acquire monopoly of currency power and give them the best treatment that they deserve. And what is that best treatment? The best treatment is simple. Disallow them. Send them to their creator who have the power to judge them. That's the best treatment. Because these people are proven over and again that they don't have human sympathy. How can you hold your fellow human being and you are slighting, cutting the person by the throat? That's a higher level of inhumanity to human being. So the best treatment for me is to send them to their creator who had the power to judge them. Thank you very much. This is Sadler Sabat.